Hi, I'm Sophie.
Hi, I'm Paul.
And we are SP Film Viewers.
Ohayo, konnichiwa, konbanwa, whatever time of day you're listening to this. This episode, we have a special guest all the way from Japan. We'd like to welcome Tehya from For the Love of History podcast.
Hello. Ohayou gozaimasu, konnichiwa, and konbanwa to you too.
Thank you very much for joining us on this episode. Very excited to be talking about all things Japan related.
Yes, me too. I love Japan. That's why I moved here. So
Yeah. You're from a little island, not in the mainland of like Tokyo or anything.
So I'm in the southwestish part of the banana that is Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So I live on an island called Shikoku, and it's a pretty big island. It's not like a teeny tiny one.
Yeah.
And the prefecture that I live in is called Ehime.
Any cultural hotspots in there? Is there anything, what kind of things have we got going there for people who wanted to visit?
Yeah, for people who want to visit, we have something called Dogo Hot Spring, and it is the oldest hot spring in all of Japan. It's like over 2,000 years old. It used to be the Imperial Hot Spring. Like there's a whole room that nobody's allowed to go into because the emperor and his family comes, but they haven't come since like the 90s. So yeah, so we've got Dogo Hot Spring. For any poetry enthusiasts, the city that I live in, which is Matsuyama, is the haiku capital of Japan. So we've got a lot of haiku tourism, and we have one of the last 12 original castles in Japan called Matsuyama Castle. So that's really cool. We've got a couple little spots here.
That's really cool. So we'd been to a fair few like temples and stuff, and when we'd been to our trip out to Japan, and yeah, that was really nice to take in the culture that it's so vastly different from what we're used to here in the UK.
Most certainly is.
Yeah. And for the temple lovers, we actually have a something called the Shikoku Ohenro, which is a pilgrimage of 88 temples. So people go walking for like months. I think it takes 3 months to do the whole thing walking. But if you don't have 3 months to spend, you can also get on a bus and do it in like 2 days. So
that's good to know.
Right.
Where are you from originally, Tehya?
So I am originally from Kansas, but my dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. So I've never spent more than 5 years in any one place.
Straight away I was thinking of Dorothy.
Yeah.
In my head.
Kansas.
My whole life. Exactly.
Yeah.
So born in Kansas, me, Dorothy, the tornadoes. It was the whole thing. Then I moved to Nebraska and then Virginia, and I spent about 4 years in Germany, moved to little old Idaho, and now I'm here in Japan.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Amazing. And what was the reasoning for moving to Japan? Was there any particular calling for that?
Yeah, so in university, I studied teacher education, so I was going to be a teacher, and we had to choose an emphasis. So I chose Japanese history. I loved it. Everything about it was so fascinating. And after I graduated, I was a long-term sub for a year. I was offered a permanent position at the school, and I had like a little bit of an existential crisis, like, no, is this going to be my whole life forever?
I know what you're meaning.
So then I Googled, like, how can I live and work in Japan? And then the job that I'm at now popped up on the Google, and I applied for it. 2 months later, sold my car, sold all the stuff in my house, packed my life into 2 suitcases, and came to Japan, not speaking any Japanese.
Very, very brave. I don't think I have that oomph to be thinking I could go somewhere and to have 2 suitcases, not speak the language, not know anybody as well. So leave all your family and then be completely on your own. It is massively brave
definitely.
Want to do something like that. I'd be probably in my hotel, be like, I'm all on my own. And
Calling the ball, yeah.
I know I had a little bit of jet lag when we went to Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Funny story. You're going to love this. I think I had a little mini meltdown, didn't I?
Uh-huh.
In Osaka when we landed, yeah.
We'd been on, I think it was like a 9-hour and then something else, was it? Because we went to Hong Kong airport.
Oh.
And then I think we then got on and it was a 3-hour, was it, or something? Or
Yeah.
two?
I think it was.
So aeroplane food, not the greatest. We weren't in like fancy business class or anything like that. Then we got stung by a taxi driver because they are ridiculously priced, aren't they?
They are truly though.
Yeah. Mainly because we were kind of like, well, we've got to meet the group at certain times. It's like, well, we don't know where we're going, so let's just get a taxi. Right. And then it was a long, long drive to where it was for the hotel. So looking at the gauge, going, oh, Jesus, this is creeping up. And it's like half the money that we'd got was like already handed over. We've been here 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I felt like I'd been stung by a taxi driver. So then we were like, we're not getting taxis whatsoever in Japan.
No.
There's so many other transportation, which is a hell of a lot cheaper.
So much cheaper.
Yeah.
And then the shock factor for me was when we got into the hotel. It was lovely, but the room was so small. I was like, oh my goodness. And then I didn't think there was a kettle because I needed a cup of tea.
Yeah, I think that was the breaking point for you. I was thinking, you're like, oh my God, I can't make a cup of tea.
Where's my kettle?
But then I was like, oh no, look in this cupboard, here it is.
But there was no milk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There was no milk. And that.
No milk and sugar.
No.
Mm-hmm.
And it tipped me.
Oh, no. That was your very British breaking point.
100%. I was like, where's my cup of tea? And then I think the toilet confused me as well.
There's so many buttons.
Once I fathomed how to make the toilet seat warm up.
It's like bliss, that was. Yeah.
It was lovely.
That's the reason I've been here for so long. It's the heated toilet seats.
It's amazing. I don't know why we haven't got this yet in the UK. We're missing a trick here.
Definitely,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Oh, good. It's wonderful. Oh, I'm so sorry for your mini meltdown.
We enjoyed the rest of the trip though, so it's okay, yeah.
I got used to it then, didn't I? And I was fine. I think our suitcase near enough took up the full room. But we enjoyed the trip. It was amazing. And
definitely.
I think we try and recreate little Japanese moments at home now.
Yeah, try and recreate the food and things, and just like anything to relate to, like when we see like programs on TV where we're like, oh, we've been there, or that kind of stuff, and it's like, it's just so amazing.
So we actually were quite lucky, weren't we? You've educated me a lot because I'm really bad. I hadn't got Japan on my radar until you probably came along into my life. I am a little bit of a person who's needs definitely educating in things. I think I grew up on chick flicks because it was just me, my mum and my sister, so we didn't really have a man in the household for that long. So we did actually have a chance to go to the Studio
Ghibli Museum
when we were in Japan.
That was on the tick list to what we do. Was like, but that was a bit of a faff getting tickets for that. It wasn't particularly easy. So we had to do we couldn't just, because I know you have to do it way in advance for just the tickets, but we actually
that's a month.
Yeah, we had to wangle it so that we could do the tickets and then have like another tour guide as part of the package. But that was quite a nice experience anyway, to see things where they're inspired by the Ghibli. Like Bathhouse and Spirited Away was one of the things where it's sort of like a hotel that was very much inspired. And we got a free lunch there, essentially, which was really nice.
Oh, I'm so jealous. Can I go off on a little bit of a tangent about the Ghibli Museum?
Yeah. So
my friends, 3 years ago, they took me on a surprise, because I'm a diehard Ghibli fan. Love it. And their plan was to take me to the Ghibli Museum and to take me to Tokyo Disneyland, because I also love Disney, but not as much as Ghibli. So they, like a month in advance, they bought the tickets, but already like within 20 minutes, the tickets were sold out. So the only tickets that were available were the tickets on the same day that we were flying into the area. I know. And so if we timed everything correctly and like booked it, suitcases and all, we would make it to the museum with 30 minutes to spare, like before it closed. So that's what we did. We like, we were on the plane and they were like, Tehya, this is where we're going. And I was like, whoa, I cried. I was so happy. And they were like, but listen to this. Like we can only spend 30 minutes there. I was like, okay, we're going to do our best.
Yeah.
And we pulled, but can I curse?
Oh,
Yes,
of course you can. Yeah.
We hauled ass, like going to the museum. And we somehow like we're going around the back. And I was like, it's closed, like bawling my eyes out, like, oh, it's closed, like I can't go. Oh my God, all my dreams are ruined. And then there was a worker there who was like, oh, do you need to get in? And we were like, yes. And we got in, like I saw the entrance immediately, more tears, just a blubbering mess. And then my two friends were like, Tehya, just go, just enjoy. And they were like two very worn out parents sitting on a bench, just like going like this while I frolicked through the museum for like 30 minutes.
Amazing.
It was the greatest. So that was my 30-minute tour of the museum.
Oh, bless you. It is quite big though, isn't it? So I can imagine you like literally having to run around this museum.
Running. Literally running around. And like yelling at my friends from across the way, like, I'm having so much fun.
It is absolutely amazing. I don't know really what I anticipated when I went, but it does feel like that magical kind of essence to it when you're walking up, you see Totoro in the ticket booth and you get like a little ticket, don't you? They replace your ticket
with a little film cell, which is like really cool. I think a novel idea of just like a bog standard ticket. It's like, oh, so that little keepsake of like a still from one of the films. It's like amazing.
Yeah, it was so cool. I think the one that I got was the new short film that came out about the caterpillar.
I'm trying to think, did I get Kiki's delivery service? I think I did,
and
you was
and
a bit...
I got the I think it was I think I got when Marnie was there, which I don't think I'd seen that film as yet, so it's kind of like I don't know what this is from.
Oh my God, bless her.
You got this freaking caterpillar. You guys got Kiki, and when Mari was there, oh my God.
Yeah. I think that little caterpillar we went on the tour bus was like the museum that was inspired by for the park. I think it was. I think I can show you the pen I got from there as well. Little...
that caterpillar.
Yeah. So there was quite a nice little thing. I thought, I've got that. It's Studio Ghibli. So yeah.
We bought quite a bit, didn't we, from there as well. I loved the shop. It was so crammed when we went though, wasn't it? Because obviously there was a tour guide for us and I think there was other tours as well. So the shop was you probably, with the rules of COVID now, it would be amazing because you could actually get to see everything.
Leisurely go in there.
Yeah.
That's the only one thing that is good about COVID, isn't it? That you do have more space, like instead of being crammed into a shop, because we wanted to buy the entire shop. That's one of our things.
Oh yeah. I feel you so hard.
Yeah.
It was amazing. I actually bought my mum a little Ponyo plushie, wasn't it? It was so cute because she's actually, I think that's the only one my mum's seen and my sister's seen to Totoro.
Yeah.
So I ended up having to get her one of those.
The little white one, yeah.
Yeah, the little white one because she loved the little white one. I don't know why.
The cool Totoro.
Yeah. I know I picked up a couple of the soundtracks because I'm very big on the music and especially the Ghibli soundtrack.
Oh, right, they're gorgeous.
Thankfully, because I was like there for quite a while, like I'm deciding because what's the difference between this one and this one? And thankfully, one of the staff members came along and said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I don't know what the difference is between these two CDs." And she said, "Oh yeah, one's more of the actual score by Joe Tatashi. I could be getting that completely wrong. The actual person who does the scores for most of the Ghibli stuff." And the other one was more like apparently like a kid's sing-along version or something. So I was like, well, thank goodness you were here to help me out because I would have probably picked the wrong one.
You would have been so pissed when you got home.
Yeah.
Most certainly would have been.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So I reached out to you really from your episode that you did on your podcast regarding yokai and also the one about the tanuki episode, the legend in Japan. So, and I said, would you like to do an episode focusing on one of the Ghibli films? And when you brought up Pom Poko, mainly because you said that was sort of like a legend on where you're from in Shikoku, is a big prefecture of where that sort of most famous for being as part of, isn't it? Yeah. So I thought, well, this would be a pretty good one to talk to you about, because you might have more inside knowledge on more of the legend than we might particularly do. And you, as you've also stated, that you love Ghibli films anyway, so I thought that'd be the choice.
So I'm a die fan, and I love Ghibli so much.
We actually missed a trick here while we were in Japan, actually, to be fair to us. I saw, well, the raccoons, aren't they? I thought it was a bear initially. We saw little statues. The one with the quite largest ones with the hat and is it like the sake bottle or something?
The Japanese osake and nihonshu.
Yeah, we didn't actually ask our tour guide about it, but it didn't actually get a chance to say it, but we saw them all over the place and thinking, what is this thing? Is it some sort of like mascot of some kind, or?
Kind of. So the tanuki that you see all around, they're actually good luck for merchants. So they're outside of lots of restaurants, lots of shops and things like that. And they're actually there to tell other tanuki not to come and trick the shop owner, because in the folklore and the legends, what tanuki would do, because they can shapeshift themselves and anything else. So what they would do is turn leaves into coins and then pay the merchants with those coin leaves. And then once they got their goods, usually alcohol or food, then they would just leave. And once they left, the coins would turn back into leaves. So the merchants put the tanuki outside of their shops to tell the other tanuki, like, hey, we already have a tanuki. Like, we're cool with you guys. Like, don't come.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't that cute?
That is really cute. We really missed that trick, didn't we? Not knowing
we did have no idea.
But now when you were just mentioning coins and leaves, you actually did a little bit of research, and I'm obsessed with Animal Crossing. I love it to bits.
Yeah, I don't know if you're a big fan of that as well. Have you played it?
I know it from my students. My students are all a big fan. It's called Doubutsu no Mori here in Japan, which means animal forest. My kids talk about it all the time. And Tom Nook,
the character,
yeah, he's a tanuki.
I only found out about this last night, and I've been playing Animal Crossing for ages. And when we put the film on, and you did some research, didn't you? And you were like, actually, this is linking quite closely with
the leaves, because when you're placing items down in the shop, from the shop of when you buy from him, they start off as a little leaf icon, and then when you place the item down, it turns into that item of furniture or whatever. Yeah. So it's like, so
get out of town. That's
yeah. So obviously, it's very much a strong thing within the Japanese culture for that kind of thing. So but that translates to the games as well for that. So yeah. But I'm going to say the first time I saw Pom Poko was years and years ago. So I don't know why I don't remember a great deal about it from I think it was really because I got it, like, borrowed a friend's DVD of it, and it probably wasn't that particularly good quality. I didn't really sit well with me from what I recall. I don't think I even watched it all the way through, to be honest, I'm sorry to say, but I wasn't too big as a fan as I am now of the Ghibli series and films. So I thought, well, this would be a good interesting to know about, like, obviously with a more adult mind as well, to see like how the story plays out properly and be more intrigued. And I think I watched it with English dub anyway, I think. So watched it at the time with the Japanese subtitles.
That's the way to watch it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, it 100% is. I've noticed for me, when I used to hate anything with subtitles in black and white. I was really like colour girl, speaking English, and then actually now it's weird when it is the English dub. It just sounds really strange. It doesn't sound.
It comes across odd. Yeah.
I don't like it. So I noticed about 10 minutes into the film, is my best part then, because like initially I'm actually realizing I'm reading. I don't know if you like that.
Yeah.
And then you get into that zone of then, and that switches off, and you kind of just watching the film, but still it's understanding it. And I think
exactly,
the magic part comes out. So it was quite interesting because I've never actually seen this film. So we are big Studio Ghibli fans, but I think the more that I love Totoro, and Ponyo, The Spirited Away, more of kind of that. So this one's a little bit not as cutesy, I would say.
Yeah, it was being a different director entirely anyway, rather than Miyazaki really being the front runner of it. It was Isao Takahata. It was the director of this, who also, his first film was Grave of the Fireflies. Now, Sophie hasn't seen that, but that's quite sad. Quite heartbreaking.
Oh, don't make me watch it, because I will cry my eyes out.
Yeah, it was quite hard hitting, that one, I admit. He also did Only Yesterday. We've seen that one. That's the one with the woman who goes to obviously work in like the rice fields or wherever it is in the countryside.
Also a heart wrencher.
Yeah, it was quite a nice ending on that one. I do remember that was quite touching. My Neighbor the Yamadas, which is that one, a bit like this, almost like this little short sketches with all the family, and that was quite a novel take on that from the normal Ghibli stuff. So that was quite nice. But I think my favourite one of his is the Tale of Princess Kaguya. I've probably saying that right as well. The one that was the one that was basically a seed, wasn't she? She was born from a seed, and then she grew up.
She was born from a bamboo plant.
That's
so
it. Yeah,
a little bamboo plant, and she like popped out.
She did. I loved that. I actually bought that for you because he normally puts Ghibli films down that like you want for like Christmas or birthday. And me being very selfish, was reading the back of them, thinking, which one would I enjoy to watch as well? And I was like, I think that was the first one I actually bought you, which was like, oh, this sounds really, really nice, and I like the concept behind it.
That was really nice artistic style on that one, particularly. Yeah,
it's a beautiful one, and it's a pretty common folk tale here in Japan. So
we'll get to the art style on this one. It's more or less like the traditional Ghibli style of everything, but it's obviously got something very unique in terms of the content of the characters that we have, say the least.
That is that would be the balls. If I'm going to be frank here.
I thought this was such a strange concept. I was like, I'm sure children will be watching this.
Oh yes, but that's the thing. So that's the legend of the tanuki. You cannot have tanuki without malleable, weirdly large testicles. That's the nature of tanuki. And that they are able to not only shapeshift their bodies, but they can make their scrotum turn into anything, like a human's face. They can make it an umbrella. They can make it a whole like takoyaki stand. Anything that they want to make, they can. And it's just the large testicles and the tanuki go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other. And it's a normal part of the tanuki legend and folklore here in Japan. So it's kind of like, it is funny, like, kids laugh at it like, ha ha ha, kintama, which is the name for testicle in Japanese, or testicles, not just the one. Both of them. So it is funny, and kids do watch it, but it's not really a big deal.
I was quite surprised initially, like the concept behind it. I was like, that seems like a really bizarre thing to like kind of create. And who came up with that idea? Was it a man? Because it's a kind of thing, is that what they want? But then wouldn't it be painful? Like if I can imagine. Yeah,
as a male, I would find that a bit hard to grasp on, like, why am I doing this kind of thing? But I guess it doesn't hurt them, because obviously they're not going in the film and not going like, oh, this is painful or anything like that.
It's like an elastic band, isn't it? A thing that you can just pull.
It's just I don't know how it moves the way it moves, but it does, and it doesn't hurt them. And the legend of yokai, like, so a tanuki is a yokai, which is just a blanket term for monsters and ghosts and fairies and things like that in Japanese folklore. And the tanuki has been around for hundreds of years. And the stories of yokai were actually local legends. And then there was this one guy, I forgot his name, and he collected all of the legends together and made a book for people to enjoy and not just have it as an oral tradition. So whoever made it has been lost to history. Why did this person give them giant balls? No one will ever know.
It's just going to be one of those mythical things.
Nobody knows. Yeah.
Who made the Easter Island heads?
Yeah.
Why do tanuki have giant balls? Like that's
However, they are quite cute, actually.
They are so cute, aren't they?
They definitely are, and they have different transformations as well. So, for example, you've got them obviously as their rare form, like looking like a raccoon.
Is that the more traditional way of? That's based on a real actual. Are they called tanuki as a real animal, or is it just like just raccoon? But that's what they are.
So they are. There's an actual animal here in Japan called a tanuki, and it's not related to raccoons at all. It's actually more closely related to the dog. So you like?
Oh, Sophie said it was a bear. You know, as the actual the yokai. Is that the yokai version of the tanuki? Yeah.
I mean, it's closer than a raccoon. So
yeah.
I think it's the tail, isn't it? But I guess.
But they do. Yeah, they do. And especially seeing them in the film, they do as their animalistic form. They do look very much like a big raccoon.
Yeah.
For us, they do, but obviously, I guess that's because we wouldn't know fully what they actually are. But initially, when they stood up, I think that kind of animated.
Yeah, then they transform into their more humanistic, anthropomorphic, should I say, form of them. And then there's also that transformation when when they're a bit more laxy-daisy, where they're very much simplified and they're very like almost like paler brown, and they're kind of like the eyes are going like super exaggerated, like happy and stuff as well. Is that do you think that's more of a thing, just more like when they're more relaxed, or is that, I don't know, for stylistic choice that there'd be a reason behind that at all, or I don't know?
There actually is. So tanuki, like the first depictions of tanuki come from something called a ukiyo-e, which is wood block printing. Like I'm sure that you've seen like that wave picture.
Yes.
That's wood block. And the first tanuki pictures were made from that kind of art form. And they were very much more like their animalistic, like their faces looked more like the real tanuki, but their bodies were definitely humanoid.
Right.
And then in the very early, I think it was the 1920s or 30s, I cannot remember, there was a man who was a sculptor. He was a potter in Yamaguchi Prefecture, I'm pretty sure. I cannot remember. It's all in my tanuki episode podcast. So if you're interested,
make sure to check that out, everybody.
It's really good. I'm learning so much here, to be fair.
Yay, I'm so glad. The teacher in me is happy right now. So there was a man who, the emperor was coming to his town, and he was like, oh man, like I got to find something cool to impress the emperor. And he decided to make hundreds of tanuki statues in that very much like chibi stylized, big eyes, like happy smile style. And he lined them up on the bridge, and the emperor was like, yes, love this. Got the stamp of approval. And from then on, that's how tanuki have been depicted, the yokai tanuki.
I got you. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah,
it's fascinating. This is. It's so much history revolving around something that is kind of looking to be a little bit more simplistic of a way of educating somebody in a film. Because
I imagine for like Westerners, been quite a tricky thing to get a grasp on, really. I think obviously for the people in Japan, it'll be like a very well known kind of thing of like the past, history, almost history, Whereas for us, it might, especially with the fact of raccoons with big testicles, it's a bit like, what tone am I? Is this coming across as? Is this a bit of a joke or thing, or some of the facts of like the history of it and like behind it that might be a bit confusing for some people? But so this is why I wanted to see it again after so many years of trying to be sort of, I guess, off put because of the the testicle things, perhaps,
Right?
back in the day.
To
So,
make you feel uncomfortable.
I don't know. I think I couldn't take it that seriously. Perhaps I don't know. I was like, oh, forget this. This isn't the normal Ghibli I sort of know, really.
Mhm.
So with seeing this, I kind of like, right, okay, let's just focus on this. I'm a bit more of an adult, in quotation marks, and get a more understanding about the whole history of it. And now when we'd been to Japan last year, so now we can understand things a bit more. So it's quite interesting to get a grasp on things. But I guess the main focus of the story, if there is one, because it's kind of does jump all over the place a little bit, is really to do with the whole like construction taking over the countryside, that kind of thing, like environmentally factual of trying to save the environment, basically. And the Tanuki are trying to stop the humans from overtaking their land. Yeah.
I think it does kind of make you feel for any animal. When I watched it, I'm quite a bit of a softie, so it's like seeing anything kind of being torn away from its home, I'm like, oh no. And I can understand why they want to fight and why they actually really have a bit of a hatred towards these humans that are just coming in and taking over. And I think that's the bit where it got to me a little bit, and I was like, no, just let them have their land. It's their space. They were there first. Stop building.
Yeah.
And that's everywhere in the world. It's not just Japan. It's literally everywhere. Us humans just stomp along, think it's all ours, and take over. And
For sure.
it's the little raccoons' faces. Like, so some of them can't actually transform, can they, either? So they're actually losing their home.
Yeah.
And they've got
in the movie, the ones who stay in their more like animalistic, more honestly more detailed form, they are the ones who have lost their ability to shapeshift. They no longer are able to do the things that Tanuki are supposed to be able to do because of all of the industrialization and the people moving. And not only that, but during the early 90s in Japan, there was such a westernization like it was a huge boom of westernization. So it was half an allegory for saving the environment, but also saving Japanese culture and not forgetting the folklore and the legends and things like that.
Yeah, definitely got that sense of purpose throughout the film as well. One of the early shots, obviously, when it's talking about the industrialization of the countryside, I do like the imagery of, you got that thing with the digger like ploughing into the hill mound, destroying the wilderness, and then immediately replacing it with the housing thing. So it's quite like a large scale of that happening, taking over. And also there was like a thing where they're on a leaf, and then all the little bulldozers and everything all on top of it, eating away at the leaf to show that the industrial thing is moving in on the nature, the beauty of the nature that is the countryside and everything. It's kind of like, I can see what you're going for here. It's right off the bat. But then obviously what Sophie said about the, like the Tanuki were hating the humans and everything. Although there's that contrast with them, they feel like they do need the humans as well, because obviously they need to get the food from somewhere. And as they are anthropomorphized, they do quite often say the tofu or tempura. Sorry, that was one of the things that they really like. Oh, and then they're almost drooling over it. So they do still need the humans at the same time. So it's kind of like getting that balance between coexisting with one another. But it's quite a sad fact that the amount of houses that keep getting built over things, like kind of incrementally destroying what's left of nature, and it's just not looking that pleasant anymore. And that goes for everywhere. It's
a really like heavy children's movie. We've got like raccoons with big old balls, but also we have like the dying ecosystem.
It definitely is educational with the piece that it has, because it kind of gives you the thought of obviously the environment and the safety of the animals, and obviously the population and the human greed of always wanting more. But then it also is one of those where it kind of has a light-hearted side to it, and I think it's good in that sense. But I did feel at the end I was struggling a little bit at the beginning to understand the concept, but now kind of getting clarification on the traditions and everything like that, that makes it more understandable and kind of makes you want to love it even more.
Yeah.
I think that's, for us, the context behind it, I think we really, really value that. So thank you so much for letting us understand it.
No problem. I feel like everybody should get, like, there should be like a short cultural history thing before, like, Pom Poko, like, before people watch it. They need to watch this 15-minute history thing really quick to understand the rest of the movie.
Yeah. I know they do try and do that at the start of the thing, but it might still be difficult for some people to get a complete grasp, like a length of the time. But the film tries to pan it out throughout this story. It's quite a long film, but I think, I don't know if what you think, Tehya, whether 2 hours is too long, or it could be an hour and a half in terms of length, and that would still tell the same story.
I'm a big fan of a long movie. I love a long movie. I feel like cheated when a movie is only an hour and a half. I'm like, excuse me, I need you to do longer. I
think we're quite similar, because I hate a movie that doesn't give me the full completion. So like if it leaves me wanting more, or hangs me on a cliffhanger and I'm like having to decide my own decisions, I'm really, really poor at making my own decisions. So I hate that, because it's like, well, there could be so many other options, and my head will literally just create so many other stories of how it could end. So for me with this, I think for the 2 hours, it was lengthy, but I think if I would definitely want to rewatch it again, knowing what I know now. And I think I'd grow a love of the idea of when we were in Japan, seeing the tanukis outside the merchants' shops and understanding that, realizing why they were there and the mission behind them. Because I think they are quite mischievous, the way that they shape shift, and it's that kind of vividness. So we actually noticed in the shape-shifting part in the parade.
I don't know if before, obviously that big thing where they do the big parade and everything for all the people.
Yeah, the yokai parade.
Yeah. Did you? I don't know if you noticed, there was a couple of kind of like skimming through, and there was like a couple of screenshots of when they're in the sky, all the things going on in the sky transformations, and there was a couple of Easter eggs or cameos of other Ghibli films in there. Don't know if you know.
No, I didn't know.
Oh, right, okay. No, so there might have been more, but we noticed 3 particular ones. There was a Kiki on a broom flying past.
Oh my god.
Porco Rosso in his plane.
What? No.
And then there was Totoro on his umbrella.
I did not notice Totoro. Oh my god. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It was me, wasn't it? I was like, I'm pretty sure I've just seen Kiki like literally fly on a broom. And I was like, and then you were like, what? And so then you have to slowly then go back like through it to see it, because it is so much going on in that kind of
sequence,
scene. Yeah, where it's like everything's flying in and it is quite hectic, but
yeah, and they're skimming through like, oh yeah, because I'd seen Totoro at that point, but you pointed out Kiki, was like, what?
Yeah,
like thinking maybe just no. So there's probably like maybe a couple of other things we didn't even see, but interesting.
Cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to go back and like rewatch it again. Just that one spot, just the yokai parade.
Yeah. But that whole sequence anyway was fantastic. The visuals on that, there was really, because this film allowed a lot of creativity, I suppose, with obviously the malleable testicles transformed into whatever they want, and the people and all that stuff. So there's a lot of creativity behind all that, and that parade was just amazing. It's like I'd love to actually be a person in that parade and watching all these effects going on. It'd be so cool.
Me too. I mean, that level of creativity is just par for the course for Ghibli movies. Like there is just creativity, and they pull inspiration from so many different places. It's just wonderful. And Japanese history and folklore has such a long, deep, like rich history. I'm a little bit biased because I love it so much, but it's just one of the best pools of creativity that there is, like pools of inspiration. I mean, it's fantastic. I love it.
It's actually brilliant. I feel like I've missed out for quite a while. So with you kind of coming along and bringing this into me, like I would have probably not looked at this if you hadn't done. And I think that would be something that a lot of people probably are missing out on. And it's like, so I hope by us either we've covered, is this our second Ghibli one? Because we did Kiki's initially, didn't we?
Yeah.
And
that we've recorded. Yeah.
But obviously we've watched. You should see this.
Yeah, I've got a shelf full of
most of
the Ghiblis. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Well, we do hope, obviously, from us talking about it, that people, get past the, Spirited Away and Ponyo and Totoro as well. There are other films within the franchise, not the franchise, the collective umbrella of Ghibli, that explore this one, because it's quite good in its message, and it's something, obviously it's different, we might put people off a little bit, but it's very much in the folklore culture as you've just described, so quite important.
Yeah
I really actually enjoyed the ending, but I felt really kind of a bit of remorse. So like, obviously you've got where they're going to have to then transform into humans, and you can see the kind of strain on them, like they don't want to be, some of them have to do just to get by, almost like to live, really. That's the sad thing, because it's like, well, they're not meant to be that's not
they're having to conform into to be like, get with the times, man, like you got to be this, or you end up falling behind. So it's quite sad in that respect. And well, obviously, like earlier on, when in the film, because obviously it's draining a lot of their power to transform, they're having to drink energy drinks, which is obviously a human product that manufactured by humans to maintain to be human. Is quite a funny thing, because otherwise they get the black eyes that kind of like give away that they're going to be transforming back into their normal selves.
I think that's why I thought they were raccoons, because obviously they have the black kind of eyes underneath. So that's why I think I initially thought the raccoons, but it's actually because of like any human, if they're really tired, you'll get like the bags underneath your eyes. I'm really bad for them. I know I need like 8 hours sleep, or I can get really, really sleep deprived. I can get really, really cranky.
Same. And I thank God for concealer underneath my eyes, because sometimes I need it hard.
There was another thing I noticed, which is kind of funny. You probably know, because living in Japan, there was like a crossover of two convenience stores in the name called Family 11. I think there was a shop when one of the policemen run into the shop, and it's like, I guess it's a cross between Family Mart and 7-Eleven.
It is.
Yeah. Obviously for not copyright purposes, I think. Yeah,
exactly. They have to be real careful. But now it's actually funny, because so I don't know if you guys have seen Your Name or Kimi no Nawa.
Yes, with Your Name. Yeah, that's a very, very good film. Yes.
So good. It's not a Ghibli film, but there is some if you live in Japan, there is some blatant product placement in there. There is a coffee brand called Boss here.
Yes.
And you guys probably saw it when you were here. And usually there is like the Family 11 or something like that, so that people don't get, the copyright infringement. But I Googled it, and apparently Boss paid like a ton of money to be featured as like the coffee in this movie.
Wow. Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. We did an episode of it earlier in the year, covering both of them, Your Name and Weathering with You, which we saw at the cinema. And I remember seeing there was like the McDonald's being sponsored as part of Weathering with You, and that McDonald's burger never looked so good in that.
There's just something about anime food that is so good.
Yeah, and Ghibli does that quite well.
Yes.
On its own part, yeah. So, with the name Pom Poko, do you actually know what that means in terms of
I do know what Pom Poko means. So, Pom Poko is actually an onomatopoeia, and besides having large testicles, tanuki also have large tummies.
Oh. Yeah, we noticed that in the animation. Yeah.
I don't know, do you remember the part where they were playing rock, paper, scissors, like with their tummies and things, and like banging on their tummies? So that's actually, I wrote it down here. It's called Tanuki Bayashi. And in the night, like tanuki love to trick people. And so at night, they beat on their tummies like a drum. and like disorient people who are traveling, or just like to scare people or just mess with people. And the onomatopoeia for that sound of the tanuki bayashi is Pom Poko.
Okay, right. That's
okay.
Yeah,
That makes sense.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like a drum.
Yeah, belly drum almost.
Noise.
Yeah. I did wonder because obviously there's parts in the film where it says like Pom Poko 15th of whatever year we're in. I thought it was like maybe was it a place that they were in or a prefecture they were in. I don't know if that's.
So the beginning it says Heisei.
Yeah.
And Heisei is the era that we were just in. So, for example, so I was born in 1992, and that's Heisei 4.
Same.
Yeah. So you are a Heisei Ninen. So
You would be. You're a bit older.
Sorry, Yonen. Heisei Yonen, not Ninen. Yonen. I'm Yonen. You're Yonen. Sorry.
Amazing.
So here in Japan, they, of course, they go by like 1992, like 2020, things like that. But there's also era names. So the era is decided by the emperor that is ruling at the time. So I don't know if you know anything about what just happened 2 years ago, but the previous emperor abdicated and gave the throne to his son. And for the last, it was like, oh goodness, it was 30 years long. And then now we're in Reiwa, the second year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it changed when the emperor changed.
Were we in Japan when that happened? Or there was some kind of
Yeah, some political
motion.
thing was happening then. Our tour guide hero, he said there was something they were waiting on announcement of whether it was to do with that or it was like a.
It was to do with the name. So I don't know if it was like.
So it will have been obviously to April 2019. So I don't know if you remember if anything occurred around.
Yeah, so April 2019, you guys were here in April, so definitely there would have been a lot of chatter about what is the new era name going to be.
Right, yeah.
It's like there's like a whole like committee that's formed of all of these people to decide what the era name is going to be, and it's a huge deal. And everybody like waits with bated breath to figure out what the new era name is going to be because it doesn't happen very often. And yeah, so you guys would have been here a month before it was decided.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Then.
That
does
does sound about right. Yeah, because I remember it kind of being really important.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Hero did mention certain things that it could possibly be, but obviously they weren't sure until the final decision had been made. But do love the history of Japan for that reason. They do get so absorbed in these kinds of things. Like the UK's got massive history and culture. However, I don't feel we value it as much as we should, I think sometimes. And I think that's the thing with it's kind of that culture still is within Japan.
Very much ingrained within the culture, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Which is really fun and exciting. There's like new stuff all the time. So poor Rin, I'm like, what is this? What is this? He's like, Tehya, I don't know what this is. It's funny.
Do you have any particular favorite tanuki from watching the film this time around, or?
My favorite tanuki from the film is the big mama, the boss lady, Oroku, I think is her name.
Orotu, I think I wrote down. Yeah. She is so cool, and I love her so much. And she is just a boss. Yeah. And actually, one of the parts that I remember I wrote down. So there's a part when Oroku is teaching the rest of the tanuki about humans, and the funny thing about that is that's actually a legend written by humans to teach people how to deal with tanuki. Oh, right. That's so...
Isn't that funny?
Yeah. Right.
Bringing that to light, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. So interesting. So I love her. She's super cool. And I think she's like one of the only ones who's got her head solidly on her shoulders, like, we don't have to fight, we need to work together.
Yeah, I love the first part where she kind of, the opening scene where she comes in and obviously they're all fighting against one another,
and she's
then
banging the drum off.
Yeah.
To break it up. Yeah.
And she's so powerful with the way that she's saying all these things. Like, really, it's kind of highlighting war in a sense. Is there's no point in it because no one's going to win in the end if one of your loved ones dies or anything like that.
Yeah.
You're still going to lose something, so you're not benefiting really from doing this. Really impactful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. I love her. She's so great. She's my favorite. What are your guys' favorite characters from the movie?
Yeah, I think I did like is it Shokichi? I think is the
Shokichi.
Yeah, the lead one. Who doesn't seem to have the other ones seem to have like coats or scarves that sort of define them a little bit more, but he's quite neutral in the way he looks, but he's still kind of, he's got that presence of like, who that's him and he's the lead, I guess you could call him, and the way that he's develops this interest with one of the female Tanuki, and I like how the fact that they're saying like, oh, I want to be abstinent of not doing it until the wars or they've claimed the land back, but then almost like 2 seconds later they start getting down to it, and then before long they've had kids, and it's like, yep, that's sort of life, isn't it? You can't plan too much, and things happen.
And the cool thing about Shokichi's name is in Japan during the New Year, there's 3 days in the New Year where you're supposed to go to a shrine or a temple and get your omikuji for the year, and omikuji means your fortune. And there's different levels of luck. I think there's 7 levels of luck that you can get. And Shokichi is actually one of the levels of luck that you can get. It's small luck.
Okay.
Nice to know that. I love all of these kind of things where you find things out like this. Like our New Year is not that great, really. We just do fireworks
and that's
and
it.
You kind of have a party, and then that's about it. And then okay, everyone's probably hungover going into the new year. That's pretty much the basic of it. There's no kind of tradition behind it. Whereas I would rather have
what you guys
have. 100%.
Super cool. I love it. And I'm always learning new things all the time about Japanese culture, obviously from Rin and his family. So it's super fun. It's really great. And I love it so much.
Do you have a favorite?
I think probably it was the same lady as TK. The only thing I think would be for me, there was one that I didn't like. I don't remember his name. It's the one with the red.
Yeah, Gunter, I think he was called.
Yeah, Gunter.
Yeah.
He was the one where the troublesome one. He just wanted to kind of fight fire with fire. He was just so
adamant of getting it back at the humans.
Yeah. Instead of trying to adapt and adjust, he just had such hate in him towards humans, and I can understand why.
Yeah.
But I think he just wasn't approaching it the right way, and I think he kind of didn't in the end lead quite a few deaths. I think in the end,
I think he ended up dying, didn't he? With one of the
his whole plan ended up dying.
He transformed into like a big head, and then a truck came along and cut through him, and then they all just end up dead on the road. It's a bit sad. Yeah.
Still gruesome.
Yeah. Not too much blood, which I guess is understandable for the rating that the film is. So it can be.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So and then obviously at the very end, when obviously everybody's doing the thing like living in the human world and everything, some of them can't, and they're back to their animalistic forms. Then Shokichi, then he's walking down as a human one night, and then I guess he sees some of his friends go to the thing, and then he's like, right, I'm gonna just always go out, hang out with them for a little bit, because he goes back to his roots. I think that's quite a nice little thing to do. He's like, don't forget who you are, who you were initially. You might have changed paths, but you go back to your roots, and that's quite a nice little message.
Right. That's a tearjerker. That one got me. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I was thinking though they should have done it sooner. So like the fact is, like, as them being humans, they could know that obviously bring food in for them. They wouldn't have to be struggling as much. So kind of looking after their own. You just thought maybe, but I think maybe now that bit at the end, that tearjerker makes you think, for me anyways, that that support is there, the humans that can transform,
Mm-hmm.
can go out and kind of provide for the ones that have lost that ability to be able to do that. It does. I think the ending for me was more where I understood, and because there was a lot of in-depthness, and especially at the beginning when I was thinking they were just raccoons that could pull the testicles, and I was like, I really don't understand. I don't understand the concept at all.
Movie right now. Balls and raccoons, what's happening?
So I even got the concept wrong completely, but then in the end it is definitely a tear jerker. It makes you feel quite humble and connected to life and nature, and you should actually appreciate what you've got on your front door a little bit.
We shouldn't keep a bit of we can adapt and grow as people, but still keep some of that nice greenery that we've got in the nature, in the thing, to not forget about that. But and then there's obviously that little fourth wall breaking bit at the end, just before the credits roll. It's almost like people stop being, animals have rights too, almost, kind of thing. Don't forget about them.
It's one of the things I really like about living where I do. So Shikoku is really countryside, and it's actually called the land of Tanuki from time to time. From like the OG, like the old people there, they still refer to it as that, because we have a lot of shrines and temples dedicated to Tanuki, because they used to be worshipped as gods, and they're just in front of the city hall in my city is a shrine dedicated to one particular Tanuki who helped a clan during the Warring States period. So there's a clan called the Taira, and she looked after that clan when they were going to war during the Warring States period. And people still leave her like giant bottles of sake and food and things like that. It's really cool. It's super cool. I love that about the place that I live.
It's lovely.
And so that was brought up, I remember, in the film as well. They kind of made a point of that one of them, when they brought other people in from Shikoku, that there was, and he mentioned about, if there everybody worships, there's no grievance with the thing. They kind of just, as soon as they see the Tanuki, they kind of like very much bowing to them and everything. So they're very much more, rather than in Tokyo where it's all just tower buildings and everything, just no respect for the environment, which is
and it holds true to today.
Very much so.
It really does.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Okay, I think we'll go to the rating now, if you're ready to do that.
So
TK?
We do it out of 1 to 10, obviously 10 being the highest, 1 being really poor and you never want to see it again, which I am kind of doubting that's going to be the case.
No, absolutely not.
Oh, by the way, you can do 0.5s as well. You don't have to be on the single figure.
Excellent. I would honestly give it like a 9. I think maybe because I have such a connection to it, living where I live and knowing the background and loving Tanuki as much as I do. I think it's such an accurate representation of what Tanuki have been and what they are today. And I love the artwork. I love Ghibli. Like Isao, the director for this one, he holds a special place in my heart. Like, so I would have to definitely give it a 9, like a solid 9.
Yeah, that's very, very good. I will go one below you with an 8 for mine choice. It's very good. Obviously, it's not my absolute favourite Ghibli, but I definitely will. I've got it on disc now, so I'll go to go back to and rewatch. So the rewatchability in terms of learning about the culture and thing, and also checking if to see if there's any more Ghibli cameos in that little thing. And the sequence with the parade is just fantastic. The way that, the creativity in that is amazing. And also with all just the transformation they do for all the other points as well, with the turn to statues and things like that. It's just really, really cool. Yeah, and the message across is quite a strong one as well. And quite important. So I do recommend this for people to check out, from regular stuff from your Totoros and your Ponyos and stuff like that. So Totoros,
your Ponyos, your Bento Cheetos.
100%. So I think I would have been quite close to an 8.
Yeah.
However, talking to Tehya, I feel like she has convinced me a little bit to mark this higher, just because I understand it more. So first of all, I was thinking big balls with raccoons, which I'm completely wrong. So ill-educated a little bit. However, understanding the concept behind it, the tradition, that kind of, she really has absorbed, you've really given me the love for it, and you've helped me understand it massively. So I think the characters are quite strong. I think you do get some lovely characters within it. The animation, well, we all know it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
That's not a debate.
Yeah.
Also, the fact that we saw these little Japanese statues and we didn't know what they are, and now we do. I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a completion tick for me, because I've been wanting to know and understand it, and that means the world to me to know now. Even though I didn't get it when I was there, at least I understand it now.
Yeah. Then if we go back, we know, we can like, oh, there's one. Yeah. That can...
I took a picture of it and I thought it was so cute, but the relevance and the meaning behind it wasn't there for me. Also linking Animal Crossing as well, which I absolutely adore. I've been playing Animal Crossing since a little girl. I've love it to bits. So I'm definitely going in the middle of you two. I'm going to go in 8.5, and it is definitely a strong 8.5. It probably would be a 9, just because of the love that you've oozed into me to really enjoy this film. I think it's definitely now, after speaking, I want to go back, not straight away, but and rewatch it.
Yeah, it's 2 hours. I get it.
Yeah.
And rewatch it and understand it to its fullest.
Full potential,
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Awesome,
yes.
Yay. I feel like my job is accomplished.
Yes.
My little teacher heart is so happy. I have educated and helped you love Tanuki as much as I do.
Definitely have.
Very much so, yeah.
So thank you so much for all your knowledge. You're amazing to talk to, and
it's been a lot of fun as well.
You've been brilliant. I've loved Japan and I've loved the culture, and you kind of educating has been our little tour guide again for the day, it feels.
Your virtual Zoom tour guide.
So thank you very much, Tehya, for joining us on this episode. Do you have anything you'd like to plug? I know you've got your Instagram, but is there anything else, anywhere else people can find you, or is it just there for the episodes?
Pretty much Instagram for my podcast, For the Love of History. I'm trying Twitter, but I'm so bad at it.
Don't worry about it.
I'm awful. There is a Facebook page, but pretty much everything that's on Instagram goes straight to the Facebook page anyways. So the main place to find everything is on Instagram. I post all of the relevant pictures and everything on there. I keep the stories on there. So if there's any new listeners out there who want to go listen to the Tanuki episode or the yokai episode or anything, there's the pictures on there on the Instagram anyways that you can always find. So
yeah, and then you can find you on the Spotify and iTunes and all that good stuff.
Everywhere that you obtain your podcast, you can find me.
Yeah. And of course that goes for the same with us as well. So we're on Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts from. And then, of course, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, if you search SP Film Viewers. Also, I'd like to say we've actually got a little merch store we've set up now on TeePublic is the place you can find us. So if you search for, I'll probably put a link on the page or something like that in the description. But obviously, if you just want to search SP Film Viewers on TeePublic.com, then you can find some designs. So you can get like t-shirts, you can get banners, you can get masks.
Really relevant with the times.
Very appropriate.
So you can find some of the things. It's just the logo for now, but we'll come up with some other designs later down the line. But that's for preliminary start of the things. So as it just launched, you can find us there. So yeah.
Yay! Oh, a t-shirt.
So thank you very much for joining us, Tehya, once again.
Yeah, it's going to be late in your evening now, isn't it? So thank you so much. If you ever want to do this again, I will chew your ear off like I have done already for like 2 hours.
100% ready for it. 100% ready for it.
Any films you've got, any other Ghiblis or anything like that under your belt?
Anime thing, yeah.
Any anime, anything Japanese, just let us know.
Reach out to us and yeah, we'll do this again sometime, yeah.
I'm a big fan of all of the animes, so you just let me know.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Sounds like a plan. So thank you everyone for listening, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Please check out Tehya. She's brilliant, and I am going to be literally doing some homework and learning everything I need to know about Japan, because she is the girl that you need to talk to. So hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you.
Thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and we'll speak to you next time.
Bye.
Bye.